Welcome to the Sharkpreneur podcast with Kevin Harrington and Seth Greene. Kevin Harrington is the inventor of the infomercial, one of the original sharks from the hit TV show Shark Tank, and has generated over $5 billion in TV and digital direct response sales. Seth Greene is the world's first trusted authority on cutting-edge direct response marketing, a best-selling author, and the only 3-time Marketer of the Year nominee. On the podcast, Kevin and Seth interview sharkpreneurs who share straight talk on what it takes to explode your business.
Why do so many businesses struggle while others seem to explode overnight? Do you wish you had the secret to this type of exponential growth? Now, I've scaled more than 20 businesses to over $100 million, and it's not just luck. In my new book with Mark Tim, Mentor to Millions, you'll learn the repeatable framework I use in all my business ventures for massive success. Order at kevinmentor.com and get over $1,000 in bonuses. Head to kevinmentor.com.
Welcome to the podcast. This is your co-host, Seth Greene. Today, I've got the good fortune to be joined by Bill Gallagher of scalingcoach.com. Bill, thanks so much for joining us.
Hey, how are you? Good morning.
I am fantastic. Obviously, scalingcoach.com, you have extensive experience with gazelles and Verne Harnish and the scaling up methodology. Let's go back in time a little bit because I know you've had kind of an interesting career before then. How'd you get started?
As a coach or like in life?
Well, I was born a long time ago. How about in your most recent business before this one?
So my career is pretty varied and mixed, and that's a great thing. There's always a thread that connects everything, I think. But just before this, I was running a jewelry business, a fashion accessories brand that my wife had founded. But it's the whole mix of all of those things that led me to being a coach and certainly the age of life, right? Having been CEO a number of times, having scaled some companies, having had some spectacular failures, some great successes, like a range of things, that at this point is what had me become a coach.
And then how did you get involved with Verne and the Gazelles organization?
Well, it was about 2001 when I first learned the old Rockefeller habits. I was in the EO organization. My partner was in the EO organization. She went through the program. I started to learn with her of all of the stuff from Verne through the EO participation, and we began to apply them to the business pretty imperfectly. When I finally did the bulk of it, I was able to get out of my role while growing the business at the same time, and that was probably the coolest thing that I did.
And then talk a little bit about your journey and how you've kind of evolved in helping other businesses take the same path.
So I've been coaching for 8 years now, full-time and part-time for 16 years. I began first to work on leadership coaching and CEO coaching, and I embraced the scaling up framework, Rockefeller habits that I had learned and applied myself, and then began to broaden into more team coaching. And what I noticed is that the impact that we had engaging the whole leadership team and then down into other layers of the company was a lot bigger. We were able to produce bigger results and have more traction. I still do a fair amount of leadership development work, and we have a whole leadership flywheel framework that we teach our leaders 4 disciplines to scale their business.
And then talk about, because you've had some incredible results, talk a little bit about some of the clients you've worked with and kind of what you were able to help them with and what that magical transformation looked like.
Well, we've had founders exit with, 10 million and more in sales. We've had people scale companies through more than $1 billion. We've worked with companies valued over $1 billion, three now. We've worked with I don't know, a big range of business. We've also had some companies have less than stellar exits and sales. We had one get hit very hard by a ransomware attack. So it's not all fun and games and big exits and private planes and things like that, right? There's definitely some hard work and some humbling moments for us and for our clients in the process. But overall, it's really cool if you do the work, both to develop yourself as a leader and to scale your business. It pays off.
What are some of the biggest mistakes you see business owners making when trying to scale their companies?
Well, there are a lot of really big mistakes. By far, in a way, the biggest one is not looking in the mirror. You look around your business and you see all the things and the people who aren't living up to your standards and expectations. You see the things that aren't going according to plan, and you don't stop to look in the mirror and say, who am I? Who have I been as a leader that's created this mess? And all the work that we will do in a business will be undone if you don't develop yourself as well in the process.
Okay, so talk a little bit about how you help folks with that.
On the leadership side? Yeah.
Yes.
So, if somebody doesn't want to do that and they don't want the critique and the feedback, then we just stop working with them one way or another. They fire us, we fire them. But so assuming that somebody's open to it, we look first at really two core ideas: the leadership flywheel and who they've been so far and who they really want to be as a leader. So the first thing to do is to get who you've been to date. These are survival-based kinds of strengths that lead you to this point. And then we project that forward and say, who do you want to be like at the end of your career? So we do this starting with the end in mind kind of look, and we think about the kind of leader that we want to be. We look at and imagine and create a new chapter of our leadership. And that's the first part, is really to invent yourself newly rather than just sort of that default survival-based thing that you've been doing, which is great. And it's got you to this point, but there's a limit then to the fulfillment and success there. So then we go to work on teaching and training 4 core disciplines of this leadership flywheel. And they're pretty straightforward. The first one is teaching people to be more inspirational. So the first thing that we want to do as leaders is create a positive emotional response in the people we're interacting with. We want to inspire people. We want to move them. We want them lit up by the possibility of our business and what we're working on and that kind of thing. And then when they're kind of in that state, so we do that with things like sharing a big vision, or taking a bold stand, or being very courageous and demonstrating apology and responsibility. Things like that cause that emotional response. Then people get excited about something, but we have to actually engage them by inviting them, selling to them, something that gets them to say yes, to commit to something and begin to take action. So that next piece is learning to engage people. So not just lighting them up and leaving them inspired, but actually seeing a pathway for themselves, an opportunity for themselves, and then saying yes, committing to something, taking action. And that applies to suppliers, employees, potential employees, customers, the whole range of people that might be involved with the business. And then there's a world of planning. So we have people who are lit up and they're engaged, but then that leads right into what am I going to do first, and how does it work with everyone else, and that whole world. And in the world of planning, we generally are talking about planning with the end in mind. So starting from that point. And then the last piece is people are lit up. They're engaged in taking action. They're thinking about and planning and replanning. They've learned to plan as a practice rather than an endpoint. And they start to have setbacks. They get discouraged, that kind of thing. So the last piece of this leadership flywheel is coaching. And that's where we then loop back on, remind them what they inspired to, what the opportunity was for them, what they committed to, where they are in the process, replan, and kind of loop back around. And that's why it's a flywheel. One thing inevitably leads to the other.
You have achieved so much success for your own business and for your clients over the years. What's your biggest challenge now?
So the biggest challenge for us right now, really honestly, is 10x scaling. So I have a very successful private practice, right? I'm a very busy coach working internationally with a huge range of companies and a few very deeply. But how do I create something that has a much bigger impact that helps me fulfill my BHAG, and help 5 million business leaders before I retire? How do I get out of just being the one who touches as many companies as he can to somebody who has a much greater kind of scale, right? So that's kind of our biggest challenge right now, is the same thing that I talk with all of our clients about, is figure out how to 10x or 100x yourself. And we have some ideas in that, and we're cracking away at it, but we haven't had that breakthrough yet.
Your passion is obvious. What do you like best about what you're doing?
Well, I get paid for doing something that I'm like uniquely good at, especially gifted at. And I have a great lifestyle. So I do work that I feel good about. I get paid very well for it. It's largely easy for me to do the work that I do, not effortless, but like, naturally powerful. And then I have just a great quality of life as well. So I travel to cool places. I have time off, all that kind of thing. That's pretty cool, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You worked with so many amazing businesses. What are some of the biggest lessons you've learned along the way?
I would say the lessons that I've learned along the way are the ones that I'm sharing all the time with people. And that's why we have our podcast and so on. Not only do I interview gurus about their experience and then share our clients and so on, but I also do a tip each week on something that I've learned. So that's a very, very big topic, but I've learned that like hanging on to and protecting people is a disservice to both you and them. I've learned, you really have to look in the mirror that at this point, you have the company you deserve and you deserve the company you have. So you've got to level yourself up. Like we talk about the mistake of leaders who don't want to work on themselves. I've learned there's value in consistency and structure in addition to spontaneity and creativity. And somehow you have to find a balance for yourself and your team between those kinds of things. I've learned it's valuable to be different and to lean into our differences and uniqueness, both as companies and individuals. So I think those are some of the big highlights.
Those are great lessons. You give advice every day. What's some of the best advice you've ever gotten?
I remember one of my mentors watched me go through practicing speaking and leading workshop exercise and that kind of thing. And she said to me, "Oh my God, you're like a one note thing. What's the deal here? Tell me, what else do you love?" And she had me share a range of things the other passions in my life. She's like, "Okay, we need to see like the whole range of that unreserved." And I would say that through other kinds of things like dance and vocal improv and stand-up comedy and other kinds of things that I do to develop myself, that it's that demonstrating that like huge full range, being free and playful and able to give yourself cry, laugh, think, be silent. That whole range is what's really cool.
That is an awesome answer. You have helped so many businesses. I know that Scaling Up is one of my top 3 business books of all time. You've got an incredible offer that you are very generously making available to our folks. Where can they go to learn more about you and get a copy of the book and the other resources that you offer?
So if you go to our website, scalingcoach.com, you can have a copy of the book for free. You'll pay the shipping and handling, and we'll send it to you for free. But there's also hundreds of episodes on scaling up and all the related things with all the decision areas and the thought leaders and tips and ideas, all that there at scalingcoach.com.
All right. This has been Seth Greene with Brad Gallagher of scalingcoach.com. Brad, anything else you want to share that I didn't think to ask you yet?
It's Bill.
Bill, sorry.
See, you're human too.
Yes.
We all screw things up sometimes. I think it's absolutely fantastic. It's okay. Right in the middle of doing a show or whatever, we got our flow going, and then it's awesome. Perfect.
All right,
Thank you
pause
for doing
for 1
it.
second. John, Warren, Michael, hopefully you guys can edit some of that out.
Oh, I think you should keep it. Personally, people should have room for their faux pas and their mistakes, but
we'll see what happens when it airs.
Okay.
Oh my goodness. Bill, anything else you want to share that I didn't think to ask you yet?
No, thank you so much for having me on the show and talking to your audience. And it's been a pleasure.
Awesome. Thank you, Bill, for joining us. Thank you, everybody, for watching or listening. We'll see you or talk to you next time. Thanks again, Bill.
Thank you.
Do you need money to fund your idea, product, or service? Are you ready to take your business to the next level, but need capital to get it done? Kevin Harrington has heard more than 50,000 pitches and knows how to help you make the perfect pitch to get the funding for your entrepreneurial dream. He's distilled the process down in his perfect pitch cheat sheet, and it's yours for free. Just text PITCH to him right now at 727-888-2100. Text PITCH to 727-888-2100 right now and claim your free perfect pitch cheat sheet. Text PITCH to 727-888-2100 to start funding your dream today.
This show has been produced by Market Domination, LLC. To discover how you can have your own show completely done for you and turn it into a real published book and become the authority in your marketplace, go to www.marketdominationllc.com/podcast offer.